Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is August the 24th, 2026. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday, happy Garfield Day. Hopefully you got that lasagna, a little wine, a little garlic bread on the side. Hell, maybe you even got yourself some seconds. Big hungry, go for it. You deserve it. As for mine, I got my slice. It's been a pretty good day. Let's see. We got up. I was a bit early, not too early, beating the alarm, but overall I felt pretty well rested, which we will take. Got myself together for the day. We got to work. Initially work was looking pretty light to start. There really wasn't that much, cardboard buggies to really crush. They hadn't come for the pickup as well. So I was kind of like, hey, maybe that's a blessing in disguise. We'll take it. But I want to say maybe 30 minutes in or so, they did wind up showing up. So I was like, awesome, good. But we're starting off the week right. That's how I want to see it. So Crusher got swapped out. We got to work. Overall wasn't too bad. I think I went upstairs maybe for about 30 minutes or so, just cut down boxes. So we'll take that. Oh, I also did some putbacks as well. So, hey, there you go. I didn't even really sweat the putbacks. So I just did a couple of those and that was my day. Let's see. Post work, we did drop off a coworker. We went to the gym. Gym was busy, but, I kept it light anyway, so, just kind of worked with it. Did a little bit of upper body, a little bit of, legs and, some cardio. Easy peasy. After the gym, I went to the grocery store. Was pretty in and out there. I will say this is a random aside, but usually I like to use the self checkout, but for some reason this Monday night it was so busy that I just used just the old school one, and for some reason it always makes me feel like I'm an 80-year-old for some reason. Just using the standard checkout at the grocery store, having people bag my groceries and stuff. I found myself saying thank you a bunch, but in and out pretty easily. Then we came home. I will say I skipped my stretches. I don't know. I'm blaming this on my pain level. Overall, I was pretty good for the day, but kind of as I got through the gym session to Kroger, I just noticed and I'm yeah, I don't feel good. I don't feel that hot. I'm kind of strained a little bit. So, I came home and I, kind of just took it slower and had my snack and did my research and here we are. That being said, obviously, I'm still trying to stay consistent with my stretches. I'm not trying to rule them out, but just I was kind of mentally, physically a little bit over it. So, that's where we're at right now. But anyway, that's been my day. It's my Monday. Overall, we'll take it. It was a success. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into the news. All right. Our first story comes from the BBC. Guinea rubbish landfill collapses, let me run that back. Guinea rubbish landfill collapse kills 31 in Conakry. Residents near the dump site were evacuated after the collapse. At least 31 people have been killed after a mound of rubbish at a major waste site collapsed onto nearby homes in Guinea's capital, Conakry, the government has said. Another 22 people were injured, including 6 seriously, in the city of Dar es Salaam area. Significant resources and personnel, including the military, were deployed to search for survivors after the collapse at about 2 local time. Following heavy rain overnight, the government added in a statement. One woman told local media her 5 children had died in the disaster. There are fears that the death toll will rise further. Rescuers were later seen using excavators to comb through a mountain of scattered rubbish at the site as local residents gathered nearby. Now, they have more testimonials and stuff like that. I imagine if I hear any, breaking news, big updates from this story, we'll come back. Obviously, very unfortunate when you cover any kind of. I almost want to call this like a landslide, even though this was a man-made landslide. So I guess you do maybe call it something different. But yeah, it's a shame. Like I'm trying to think of any kind of equivalent here in the States, and I'm just thinking like making up something in my head. I'm like, that would be like if Rumpke, had some crazy thing fucking happen to it. Shit just got so crazy weather-wise, or I don't know, like earthquake, whatever. And some nearby area just got, just besieged, rolled over by just a big part of the landfill, like spilling out or something like that. This feels like I can't dredge it up from any memory that I've seen. I'm just literally making this up, but this is happening to, a whole group of people right now. So it's obviously very sad, very unfortunate. But speaking of natural disasters, even though this was a man-made natural disaster, or natural disasters happening to a man-made thing that makes a bigger disaster. I don't know how you want to square that. But anyway, our next story is from the BBC. Nevada wildfire expected to burn for 48 hours and may spread further, officials say. A large wildfire approaching Reno, Nevada could remain active for the next 48 hours due to dry and windy conditions, officials say. Hawk Fire Services says the fire, first reported on Saturday, could spread further north, and there's no timeline for when nearly 90,000 people, or 90,000 evacuated people, can return to the area. A state of emergency has been declared in Washoe County, northwest Nevada, as Governor Joe Lombardo calls it an active and rapidly evolving situation. One Nevada resident says the fire roared through his home and completely leveled 2 neighboring properties. Officials say 6 people have been injured, including 3 emergency responders, and around 15,000 acres, or 23 square miles, have been burned. Satellite imagery shows the impact. And they say wildfires are common in southwest U.S. areas, including Nevada, but many of these fires develop in rural and less populated areas. So yeah, I'd heard about this, I want to say like Sunday night. I was kind of waiting till today to cover it. I wanted to see if there's going to be any like major updates or anything like that. I will say that at least the silver lining here is I haven't heard of any reported deaths, any casualties, so that's good. But it's still very scary to have to know that you're leaving your home potentially for the last time, and if you come back, it might be completely in cinders. So, that's obviously a very scary, frightening thing. Not something I wish on anybody. So, once again, condolences to everyone going through that. Also, in terms of the cause of the fire, they do believe that it is a man-made, like a human-caused fire, but they don't know if it was intentional or an accident. So, we'll definitely come back to the story if I get any more details of that nature. All right, this is actually going to be a pretty short episode. We're doing some offbeat shenanigans today. Not too much to yap about. But our last story is a Supreme Court one. So yeah, we got to mail it in. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break and we'll close it out there. Ooh. All right. Our last story comes from the Los Angeles Times. Supreme Court for now allows Trump to plan new mail-in ballot rules. California to sue again. The Supreme Court cleared the way Monday for President Trump to continue seeking new limits on use of mail ballots though their implementation remains in dispute as the November election rapidly approaches. California leaders immediately noted the limits of the high court ruling and said they would file a lawsuit to prevent Trump's desired changes from taking effect. The Supreme Court just let the Trump administration move ahead for now with its plan to disenfranchise voters across the country. California will be suing again to block these Orwellian rules from being implemented, Governor Gavin Newsom said in a statement. Acting by a 6-3 vote, the court's conservatives granted an emergency appeal from Trump's lawyers and set aside a lower judge's order that blocked federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Postal Service, from advancing new federal regulations on states and their use of mail ballots. Trump called for those regulations in a March executive order directing Homeland Security to compile its own list of eligible citizen voters in each state, and the Postal Service to restrict its processing of mail ballots to those submitted by individuals on those Homeland Security lists. The High Court's ruling allows those agencies to move forward with their work to comply with Trump's order, but reaches no conclusion as to the legality of those pending rules. The court's disposition of this application does not mean that any measure taken by the government to implement the order will necessarily be lawful. On that score, time will tell, the High Court wrote. The unsigned order, which I hate when they don't fucking have the balls to put their fucking name on it. The unsigned order spoke for the 6 Republican appointees. 3 liberals, all Democratic appointees, dissented in 2 separate opinions. California officials stressed that the court's ruling does not allow final implementation of the rules requested by Trump. Let's see here, skipping ahead a little bit here. Let's see, the Supreme Court found in part that the lower court order blocking the agencies from working toward Trump's order was invalid because that work had yet to cause any harm to the states that sued, including California. It wrote that Trump's executive order is internal directive from the president to his subordinates, mandating that certain agencies pursue certain policies. It neither requires nor forbids anything of anyone outside of the executive branch, which I feel like this is loose because like this is going to be like an all-encompassing affecting thing. Like you're not just going to be able to be like, well, this is just his thing that he wants to have within his sphere of control in the executive branch. Like, no, this is going to spill out. In fact, the Postal Service is like saying, hey, we are going to try to be compliant with this order. Now, granted, this order isn't going to take place for this midterm election. It's going to take place be effective as of next year. But that being said, this is only injecting confusion into a process for people, which is essentially what Trump wants anyway. He's got to get what he wants in that regard, period. But I think even giving a tip of the hat here is a step too far. I would say the same thing about the White House construction shit as well. But it's not surprising to see the conservatives move like this. I guess we're at least happy to see, the liberal justices say, hey, we're going to stand up and say, this is wrong. This doesn't make any fucking sense. And this is not how it should be. But that's just kind of rhetoric, right? Like, it's not like that's changing or moving the needle in any way. At least that's kind of how it feels. So, I mean, we'll see. This definitely feels like almost like a couple of sucker punches or some shit where you're just like, damn, all right, yeah, we gotta get this. The fucking Supreme Court ain't shit. They are not for us. They are for our fucking president. And we just kind of have to work around and deal with that. I don't know, kind of making this personal or whatever. I know I just got my absentee ballot, or at least not my absentee ballot, but the thing I'm supposed to put in to get my absentee ballot, right? You're set up for it. So, I implore people to not let this shit stop you from voting. You know what I mean? I know that this shit can feel discouraging just with the stakes being what they are and the field being what it is. But I still want to believe that my vote matters. I still want to believe that it's worth going out and voting. And even if they fucking took the ability for me to do mail-in ballots, I would come in. And I would go to my fucking local and I would vote in person. I don't give a shit. Even if you said, hey, you got to bring your fucking goddamn ID, your birth certificate, you got to tell me your blood type. I'm doing that shit because it's important to me. That's just how I feel about it. I get that everyone is going to do their own thing. But yeah, I think that this shit is important. I think it's always fucking important, whether we're talking midterms, whether we're talking the fucking big ticket election, the big fucking one. Because it's fuck Trump on this shit. And I want to say that with my vote, at the very least. So, yeah, that's it. That's really all I have for today. I guess the last note that I wanted to say, it's not lost on me that I haven't done any trial coverage as of like recently. I know there's been a couple of trials. I know the Tupac trial thing is ongoing with the person who, potentially shot Tupac or whatever and wrote about it and da 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 da. There's also I might be getting her name wrong because we have not covered this at all. But I believe Lindsay Clancy. We haven't covered that trial. I'm waiting for both of those though. To come to a sort of conclusion in terms of a verdict, and then maybe we'll do a whole rundown. Though, once again, with the Tupac case, we've covered that a bit, so that'll be a bit of an update. But that being said, it's not lost on me. I figured I'd take this time to at least drop that. I am looking at it. We are following it, all right? Patriots Stand Watch, whatever. True Crime Now. But yeah, we'll get to those. I don't want to say I promise. I don't want to break a promise to y'all. But I got my eye on it. I want to get back to that for sure. But yeah, that'll be it. That's the episode for today. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube, follow on TikTok, follow on Spotify, follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is always caring. If you leave a good review, like all the star stuff, or just the podcast is very fun. Hey, thank you. Or what a crazy episode. Hee hee ha ha. Thank you. You know what I mean? That means a lot. For the algo, for my soul, spirit, whatever. Thank you. But yeah, if you don't do any of that, that's all right. I really just appreciate the people who listen. That means so much to me. To know that there's someone else on the other line, other side of this thing, whatever the fuck you want to call it, saying like, damn, that's crazy. Damn, he really said that shit or whatever. You know what I mean? I just appreciate not being alone in this thing we call life, in this thing we call fucking podcasting. I don't know. So yeah, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.